Guys, what's going on? Nick Wood here. Hey, I want to share with you today why I don't pay attention to population. Okay, within reason. If it's a 1,000 population little town with a couple cows, yeah, not gonna touch it. But here's the deal: when I first got into this space, I was taught that you want to be within certain populations, and I think it was like 150 to 500 or something like that. And I get the concept. I understand what they were trying to do, and theoretically, generally speaking, it kind of makes sense, right? Like if there's a certain population, there's going to be a certain amount of demand, and if there's a certain population that's too big, there's going to be too much competition. I get it. However, if you're one of those people that goes into really weird, obscure niches, right? You can go into huge cities, massive populations, and it's not going to be that difficult because there's not that many people, at least from a lead generation marketing standpoint, that are going into those niches because they're obscure, they're weird, they're unique, right? And so, excuse me, if you were following that advice, you would be missing out on huge opportunities. Okay, as far as not going into cities that are too big, too much population. And likewise, if you are what you do, what I did is I had this thing in my head, like if it doesn't have at least this many people, there's going to be no demand, and that's absolutely untrue. And let me tell you why. Here's a good example. Last year, I made a lot of money in a niche called artificial grass and turf. And I do really like that niche because it's not getting less popular, it's getting more popular. I did artificial grass at my house for the first time last year, and I love it. And I recommended it to like 5 people because I love it so much. And so I think that that's the common theme. So I think it's getting more popular, and people, they enjoy that. They don't want to take care of their yards, and it's also it's going to become more affordable. I just think it's trending in the right way. So it's a cool niche. And so I'm telling you that because let's take an example. Let's take a city like Minneapolis. Okay, just an idea. Or we could take a city like let me think of something else. Maybe like New York. Okay, New York. We'll go New York. If you compare New York, the population of New York, it's massive. I don't even know what it is. I have never gone into New York for any. I'm talking about the city, right, not the state. So I've never gone into that for any project. Okay, we'll take New York, and then we'll also compare that with. Let's compare it with a little city that I really like. And this, if you guys are listening to this, you should check the city out. It's called Queen Creek. Okay, Queen Creek. Queen Creek, the population, I don't know what it is, but I can't imagine it's more than a couple thousand people. Okay, very small. New York is a couple million. I would way, way, way rather be in Queen Creek doing artificial grass, even though it's just a small population, than I would be in New York. Okay, or even something that's middle of the pack as far as population goes. Why? Because in that situation, the climate is such that in Arizona, especially in that Phoenix area, which by the way, Queen Creek is a suburb of Phoenix, it's a very popular service. It's a very small town. It's a nice growing population in that town. And there's a lot of demand. I know that because I'm in that niche and in that city, and we get a lot of leads in that little, like just a couple neighborhoods, right? And I have a funny feeling that if we did the same thing in New York, there would be hardly any people searching for that, and there would be very few leads. And so that kind of taught me. I mean, I've done this a few times, and it's been like a light bulb, but I don't care about population. Okay. The more important, the more interesting metric to me is demand. Okay. Like how many people are actually searching? How many people in that area are looking for that service? Not how many people live there, because it doesn't matter how many people live there. It's how many people are searching. And in New York, and by the way, full disclosure, I've never been to New York, but how I understand it, most people, I mean, the yards aren't huge. That a lot of people live in condos and everything else. And I just can't see there being a lot of demand. Now, I could be wrong. I'm just giving you an extreme example, but stop focusing so much on population and start looking at a more important metric, which is demand. How many searches are there per month, right? And I'm going to do an entirely different video on how to find those things out, because most of the tools are completely inaccurate, but you can still utilize them. But my point is, don't get so hung up in population. Worry about demand.